Hey guys, how's it going? So this video is going to be a little different than most of mine, and it's kind of a viewer request because I had a viewer come in the comments yesterday and said, hey, you've been showing a lot of pistols lately, which is cool, but what about some rifles? So what I'm going to do is just go through 10 random Milsurp rifles and just briefly show them to you guys, and it's not really going to be a review, just kind of like showing you guys some rifles, and let me know what you think of them down in the comments, and I could do full reviews on any or all of these eventually as we have more time. So, alright, I'm going to start off with an 1898 Krag Jorgensen. And this is the model of 1898. This specific one was made in 1901. It has the original stock cartouche here. There were several variations of these Krag rifles, and these served in the United States right around the turn of the last century, starting off in the late 1800s and then ending production in the early 1900s, and they were quickly replaced by the 1903. So this one still has the original correct sight for a 1901 production. Everything with this gun is pretty much all still intact. This is a legit original representation, chambered in the 3040 Krag cartridge. And this one feeds a little bit different. Instead of having a bottom magazine like many Milsurps do, it actually feeds through this little loading gate in the side, and it feeds in a rotary type pattern. So yeah, the old 3040 Krag, probably the most short-lived service rifle in United States history, but these were used. They saw service in several conflicts. Just nice classic old gun, really. These are great guns. Walnut stock, a bunch of blued steel. I never complain about a bunch of blued steel and walnut, guys. So there you go, 1898 3040 Krag Jorgensen rifle. Well, here's the rifle that replaced the Krag Jorgensen, and this is a Springfield 1903. We can see right here, U.S. Springfield Armory, model 1903. This has a serial number in the 800,000 range, so this is actually a true 03. Later on, they would have the 03A3, 03A4. This is a pre-A3. Take a look at the sights right there. This is the Mauser action that they were actually paying a royalty to the Mauser brothers for when this was developed. But the United States considered it well worth it because the Mauser action, probably one of the most tried and true, some people would say the best, military bolt action. So there you go. This is basically the American Mauser. This one here dates to about 1917. It's in all original condition. Original parkerizing and bluing where it should be. Back to that good old walnut stock that we saw in the previous rifle. So here's another American classic. U.S. Springfield Armory, model 1903. And this also features the magazine cutoff where you can turn the magazine on and off, which was a nice addition that you don't see on a lot of the traditional Mauser actions. So there we go. This would be the next lineage of the rifle I showed you previously. Alright, well, the last one's kind of sort of the American Mauser. This is the American Enfield, and this is the U.S. 1917. Let's see if we can get it to zoom in there. U.S. model of 1917 Eddystone. This one's a very late serial number, 1.365 million. If you guys can do me a favor, if someone can figure this out, because most of the books I have, and I have quite a few books, say the serial number stopped on these before this number. So this is certainly a very, very late production. That would probably make sense because this rifle is in basically, besides a few little handling marks that happened over the years, is basically in brand new, unissued type condition. I'm going to try to get in on the roll marks one more time. These are certainly legitimate roll marks. They've not been altered by anybody. So, you Eddystone buffs, Milsurp buffs, if someone could please help me out with this one. Look at that serial number. It falls outside of the published range, like a little bit higher than what they said they made. So certainly, very, very late production. This rifle was certainly probably never issued. And with the United States making production for the British Enfields during World War I, they naturally decided to make this true American Enfield here. So it's a pretty cool rifle. Chambered in the 30-06 though, because this is the American version. Same thing as before, beautiful walnut wood, nice blued and parkerized finish. This is a classic, guys, and a rifle that I really actually enjoy. So now we're going to switch it up, and let's switch countries here real quick. So the last one was the model of 1917 US. So while we're in 1917, here's a German service rifle. And this is the GRI 98. And this one happened to be made at the Danzig Arsenal in 1917. So some of these roll marks with the patina is a little hard for the camera to pick up. But this is a Danzig manufactured, made in 1917. This is a nice original World War I era firearm. Everything's pretty much in original condition here. All of the parts match that I can see. It's got the classic roller coaster type sights. And this is basically the predecessor to the famous K98, K90K Mausers. And these rifles served throughout a long history in Germany and were then exported to many other countries. This one, being an older import, has no import marks on, so it was probably brought back in the United States or imported in pre-1968, which is completely acceptable. If you have a firearm that was brought in before 1968, it didn't have to have import marks. That law was part of the GCA of 68. So yeah, just a nice old original example of a Danzig World War I era manufacturer, German GRI 98, and it has all the different imperial type markings on it. And yeah, just a nice classical rifle. Here's another Mauser for you, and this one's a Swede. This is the M96 Carl Gustaf's Swedish Mauser. See the roll mark right there, Carl Gustaf. This particular one was made in 1908, and this is chambered in one of my favorite rounds. I'm a big 6.5 fan, and this is chambered in the very accurate and very flat shooting 6.5 millimeter Swede cartridge. This is a pretty honest example of a rifle from this era. It's not a museum piece, but it does have all the original stuff like it should, including the little stock disc here. This is yet again the Mauser action. Very smooth action on this rifle, guys. This particular one, very nice trigger. Oh, the trigger's beautiful on it. But yeah, more wood and blued steel. I'm still not complaining. So M96 Carl Gustaf's Mauser, and this came from Sweden, and this is about 112 years old. Still can fire this rifle today. It's still in great, perfectly functional shape. So there you go for any of the Swede fans. Alright, while we're dealing with rifles that are like 2 miles long, I found one that's even like 2 inches longer than the Swede, and this is an original M1891 Mosin Nagant. This is pre-9130 standards. It has the noticeably jagged stair-stepped rear sights on it. Features the hex receiver. And this one's pretty cool. This was made in 1898. So this is an antique. This is not legally considered a firearm. Pre-1899, not a firearm. So here we go. An 1898 antique M1891. This thing's been through the war and back, literally, but it's in an original turning condition that I love. Very early style stock, extremely early, with just the hole drilled through. This is probably maybe something that the Finns did, even though this particular one is not Finnish property marked. There's different information on this style swing swivel out here, guys, but this is a pretty early type, and you do not see this very often. It has the original style 1891 upper handguard, and yeah, just kind of a pretty honest example of an old antique. It's not parts matching. The bolt doesn't match the receiver, the magazine doesn't match the bolt, but hey, just a real nice example of a literally antique. This is not considered a modern firearm, guys, but it still fires 7.62 by 54R, just like with a lot of the Mosins that you guys are familiar with. So there you go, antique Mosin Nagant M1891. Here's another Mosin for you, and this is an M9130 shortened barrel, what they considered at that time to be a more updated rear sight system. Still shoots the same 7.62 by 54R, and this one was made in 1942 at the Izhevsk factory. So we're looking at a 1942 Izhevsk. So basically a mid-World War II. This is a nice one. This one's in great shape. Still has the original bluing on it. And this comes in a laminate stock. Laminate stocks aren't exactly rare, but certainly always more uncommon than the hardwood. And this has the more modern style, as I'm knocking stuff over here. This has the more modern style. Little, you know, ferruled slots cut through the stock, both in the rear and the front, to hook up the more modern dog collar style slings, as you guys are probably familiar with. But yeah, the wood on this is just completely gorgeous. I really, really love the look of these laminated Mosins. So this isn't particularly rare or valuable or anything, but it sure is a beauty. And I really do enjoy this laminated stock. Not only are they more durable, but just look how pretty it is when the light catches all the grain. This is all original shellac from the way it left Russia. So just so you guys know, I have not refinished this. This is just one that I bought when they were really cheap just a couple years ago, and I ended up getting my hands on a real nice one. So M91 1942 from Izhevsk. Alright, so I've got another Enfield for you, and this is a #1 Mark III. And you can probably see right away something doesn't look quite right with this one. And that is because this is a drill purpose rifle. You're going to see the red and white stripe here along the side. We're going to see the F marked on the stock. We're also going to notice this DP roll mark virtually everywhere on this firearm. You can see it up there right above the chamber. You can see it again up here in the stock. Over here would be like its rack number. I see a 13 there, and it looks like the number 90. But yeah, this is a nice original example of a GRI Ishapore Indian Enfield. These were made in India at what we call Ishapore. Let me see if I can get a look at the roll marks, which are kind of faint here, but we can see a little bit of the crown logo here, GRI. And then 1940 what? There's no signs that anyone scrubbed the last number off. You Enfield buffs. Ishapore India Enfield buffs. I'm giving you guys a lot of homework in this video. If someone knows about this, let me know. I'm trying to zoom in. There's a good look at the roll mark right there. Okay? Why am I missing the last digit? Did they literally just skip it when they were doing the roll mark? More than possible, but certainly this should have been made in the 40s, right? And the examples I've seen online certainly have the 4th character there for the year. This one does not. The texture of the steel looks identical all the way across. I can feel nothing, nor can I see anything that would indicate that this date number was scrubbed or altered. So maybe they just missed a roll mark. I don't know if there's anything else that can be identified on this to know if this is a 42 or a 41 or whatever. But yeah, there's our rear sight. So this is basically the classic SMLE, short magazine Lee Enfield, the old British design. And this one was made in India, which was a heavy user and maker of the Enfield rifles. Now, with this being drill purpose, you'll see right here, they've drilled through the chamber and welded a pin in place. They've also removed the firing pin, but they haven't obstructed the barrel. So in theory, parts could be swapped out and this could be reactivated again, but this has been deactivated. But since it wasn't torch cut to specifications, this is still considered a CNR firearm, and I had to have it shipped, you know, appropriately through FFL. So legally, the ATF still considers this a firearm, but functionally, it's really not because the chamber has been blocked, firing pin removed. But the action still completely works. Cock on close. There's a bunch of cosmoline in here. Normally with these Enfields, when you flip up the bolt, it just pulls it all the way to the back to make it faster to recycle it, but this has a lot of cosmoline still in it. Got this from J&G Sales just about 2 months ago. It was 130 bucks. I called them up. They picked out a nicer looking one for the channel, so I would like to thank J&G Sales, where I paid for this with my own money, but they did throw in a courtesy hand select for the channel, and I do appreciate that. So there we go. Drill purpose, Ishapore Enfield from India. Let's go Czechoslovakia. So I have the Czech Vz52 rifle chambered in the 7.62 by 45. It served kind of the same role as the SKS. Definitely not one though. Not even close. This is just a nice old original example. Been through the war and back. And this is one of the ones that came from the recent Ethiopian cache that was purchased and imported into the United States. You may have seen Ian, Forgotten Weapons, did a video on that. This is one of those rifles, Vz52s. 7.62 by 45. Rear sight graduated out to 1,000 meters. These were made at SHE factory and the AYM factory. This particular one is an AYM. I don't know if that makes it any more valuable necessarily, but far less were produced at AYM, and that's where this one here was made. They only made these for a few years before basically going to the Vz58. And this example was made in 1955. So a 1955 Czech Vz52. Everything's working good on it. Can't wait to go out and fire it and do a follow-up video. And I'll keep you here. So since I've got the Vz52, it's only normal for me to go to the next rifle. And this would be the Czech Vz52/57. Now it's almost the same as the rifle I just showed you, but a couple differences. They painted the top dust cover and the bolt carrier instead of Parkerized. They also painted the front handguard black. Usually a different type of wood. These always have more of a yellow amber type wood than the darker red or brown like the Vz52s. The rear sight all of a sudden is graduated out to only 900 meters instead of 1,000. And where the other one, the barrel was screwed into place and this part of the receiver was solid, the Vz52/57 is now pinned in place. This makes it a little cheaper and more expedient to manufacture these rifles. And this one, being a 52/57, this was just a stopgap. As Soviets were pressuring the Czechs, hey, we need to get you on the 7.62 by 39 that they had resisted previously with their own cartridge. This is chambered in 7.62 by 39. So while the other one I just showed you was 7.62 by 45, this is 7.62 by 39. This is indeed made at the SHE factory. Manufactured in 1958. They only made these for a couple years. So right as the Vz58s were going into production, this one was being made as a true stopgap. So we can see the date and the SHE right there. Let's come over to the right side of the receiver and we're going to see the designation I was referring to. Vz52/57. Chambered in 7.62 by 39. Now, the 7.62 by 45 is actually a little more powerful cartridge, and nothing against it in its own right, but you can only buy Milsurp stuff. It costs about double or triple of what cheap 7.62 by 39 does, and I'm a lot more worried about the 7.62 by 45 drying up than I am 7.62 by 39, so that makes it pretty cool. These both have a bayonet that's integrated in the side here. You just release the lever, it flips out. Rather thin, but it's kind of a blade style that would remind you a lot of like an SKS bladed design like you'd see from Russia or early China. So yeah, the Vz52, 57, these are a lot harder to find than the Vz52s, but they're both great rifles. These are just cool because they're kind of a stopgap. And I would note where the bottom is more squared off on the 7.62 by 45 mag, this does have the correct angled 7.62 by 39 mag. And this is part of that group that came in from Ethiopia that you saw in the Forgotten Weapons video. Czech Vz52/57. See if I can get them in frame together real quick. And the Vz52. You can see the difference in the magazine right there. Vz52, Vz57, right? There you go. Kind of sort of the same rifle, but not quite. And I think there's enough interest where I'm definitely going to do a video on one or both of these very soon. Alright, there's 10 random rifles for you guys. So, it's just a random spur of the moment idea. Viewer request, if you will. And don't you dare say that I haven't showed you guys any rifles lately. Alright guys, it was fun. You guys know that. Alright, thanks for watching. And have a good one.